Okay, great. So, hey guys, today I'm here at the Websummit with Joel Flory from VSCO, and VSCO is my notes. So VSCO is a company from the Silicon Valley, right? Or you're from the Bay Area?
Bay Area. Never associate with the Silicon Valley. Okay. So we're in Oakland, which is in the East Bay.
Okay, so my fault. Sorry.
Oh no. It's for everyone else. Yes, it's the Silicon Valley. They assume that, but I think very proud to be in Oakland, and so I always stick to that.
Yeah. So it's really a pleasure for me to meet you here in Lisbon. And so VSCO is a visual supply company, and what you are doing, you supply photography enthusiasts with the tools and the inspiration. They to help them express themselves, right?
Yeah. So our mission is to help everybody fall in love with their own creativity, and we do that by creating quality creative tools and a community that's driven by self-expression.
So, Joe, could you give us some background information about yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So, born and raised in the Bay Area, lifelong Oakland A's fan. I was a professional photographer for 10 years before starting VSCO, and before that I was in university at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I've been married for almost 15 years and have two beautiful daughters. Really big fan of food, so I love to travel the world and travel based upon food. And yeah, so VSCO was founded in 2011, and we're now a little over 7 years into.
Okay, cool. So when was the moment you decided to become an entrepreneur?
Well, my parents would say, it was maybe around 3 or 4 years old and my first lemonade stand. My dad was in construction, and instead of just having a lemonade stand in front of a house, I knew my dad was building this project next to a retirement home. And so I set up a lemonade stand right outside the retirement home and had every single person coming by that we ended up paying a trip for Disneyland off of a lemonade stand. I was like 4 or 5 years old. So my dad always knew there was something there from then.
Cool, nice. Yeah. So you're born more or less as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I like to think, my mom's an immigrant to the U.S. from Germany.
Oh, okay.
And I think just that entrepreneurial spirit of starting something new. And then my dad, his dad and mom started a construction company as his family had immigrated from Lithuania to the U.S. And so that's always been a part of that, kind of starting something and trying something. And this is definitely excited to build upon that and what I've learned from the family and really take it further.
Okay, thank you for your background and information. So let's talk a bit about VSCO. Yeah. What differentiates VSCO from other products on the market?
Yeah. So I think what we like to think about is it's all about the community. And so for us, it's the VSCO community that is creating amazing content every day. And for us, we're entirely focused on meeting their needs. So listening to the consumer, having those insights drive everything that we do at VSCO. And so we are relentlessly focused on the consumer. We say creator first. It's the one way to get me upset in the company is if you provide an idea that's at the expense of a creator. Rather, everything needs to be focused on what is in the best interest of the creator. And so for us, I can say that differentiation is that we strongly believe that, and we carry it out in everything that we do. And I think another aspect around that from a differentiation standpoint is we believe we need to be an active participant in our own community. You will not come to VSCO to just see what other people say. There's also coming to VSCO to see what VSCO has to say. And for us, that's a really important differentiator is that we are actively leading the way in our own community, that we have an opinion, we have a voice, and that we stand behind it and we stand for something.
Oh, cool. Sounds really good, really nice. So you founded VSCO together in 2011. You already said it with a team of 5 people.
So I had one co-founder, Greg Lutzi, and then there was 3 others that joined us, and we say they're on the founding team because it was before there was really anything.
So what have been your first challenges in your founding process?
There's a lot. I think in the founding process, it's this mode of survival, and it's pick where you need to go, where you think everyone goes heads down and plays a role, and everyone kind of owned a certain area, and there was a great amount of trust amongst each of us that we would all do our best, and that alignment of trust, I think, was really core to the initial 5 of us starting it, and is still today. I think that's, if there's trust amongst everyone that we're working towards a common goal, aligned to the mission with aligned ambition, it's a really important foundational piece to building anything.
So you said now that the team is really important when you start a company.
Yeah.
And have you any tip for us to find maybe a good team? Where could you start with it?
It's a great question, and it really depends on the skill set that you're needing. So I think first and foremost, as a founder, you have to have a vision of the future, that a vision that is worth building towards. And then it's your job to share that vision. And I think what you find is when you find the people that are inspired by that and they add to it, that is a first sign of someone that is worth kind of really bringing on in the initial phase. A lot of times people will be, oh, that's great, that's exciting, and it's left at that.
Yes.
Greg, my co-founder, was, oh, and what about we could do this and we could do that? And it was adding to the value of what we were building. And so I think from that perspective, that's the big key to look for in that initial team. And then obviously, Greg and I, neither of us are technical. We needed to find someone with a technical background to help build it. And so there's also looking for those specific skill sets that are needed.
So your co-founder and you're more from the creative side.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge coming together with the technical guy? I think you had a lot of creative ideas, and on the other side, the technical guy need to make use of your ideas and need to build a product out of it. So what was the challenge there?
For me, it was a really remarkable individual. His name's Mike Wu, and already had a friendship with Mike before, and it kind of back to that trust. We had worked together for a period of time, and it was always someone that I aligned with, that there was, from a values perspective and kind of an ambition. Mike was always wanting to maybe less come up with the idea himself, but he was really empowered and one of the best at taking something from 0 to 1. Like that initial concept, an idea that Greg or I had was like, I can build that. And making it creative, making it successful, and that was, feel very fortunate. And it's something that very thankful VSCO is today because of, how he was able to do that in the early days.
Okay, cool. Your company was profitably early on.
Yep.
So, which is, I think, very special for company from the US or from the Valley.
Yeah.
And how was this possible? How did you manage it to be profitable so early?
Yeah, I'd like to say there was this great business plan and we were intentional about it. What we were focused on was building a product of value. And initially we were going to try and build this website builder. And we needed to raise money in order to hire a team to build it out. And internally, one of the 5, Zach Hodges, who kind of leads our color science and image tools, he came up with this idea. He's like, hey, Joel, I need to save you time on your editing. And he built me a tool for me to use to solve a problem. And initially that was like, this is great. And so we shipped that tool 3 weeks later, VSCO Film, and made $250,000 in 48 hours. For there it was, we built something of value that met a need, it was also, again, really about the community. So everything early on was people using the product and sharing how much they loved it.
Yeah, cool. So that's one point in which I want to come back now. One particular thing that makes your company special is the community. You already said it, and could you share the secrets? What did VSCO do to build this community?
Yeah, it wasn't something that we had to fake or try and make or pay for. It comes back to that initial insight that I mentioned around the differentiator, and that Greg and I, and Wayne on the founding team, Mike, we all went in and we built something that we believed in, and we understood it immensely, and we were active participants in that community. And from day one, we put everything back into the community. So instead of running ads to drive business, we've told the stories of the creatives using our products.
Nice.
And, again, it's always been about amplifying what people are using VSCO to create, their story, why it makes an impact on their creative life. And so, for us, it was never kind of a scale thing. We never wanted to build a community because the business needed to depend upon that community being as large as possible. It's rather, it was building the right community and providing value to them.
Okay, cool. So 3 years after you founded VSCO, you raised the first time money, I think. And why, after being profitable, did you make this decision to raise money?
Yeah, that one was a very calculated decision that we spent a lot of time thinking about. The community was taking off, and so how we operated the business at that time is that we would build something, sell it, see where the numbers set, and we need to see it stabilize for 3 months before we could invest that money back into the company. And one of the things that we noticed was it wasn't that we were adding more people, and in fact, at the time, it was only invitation only to the community. You couldn't get a VSCO profile unless we gave you access, and there was this long waiting list. But the people that we had already let in were just becoming more and more active. And so it was really driven by the insight that our AWS bill, our server bill, was growing rapidly. And, it was an opportunity for us to take on capital, but take it on our terms. So this was something that, really sought out investors that believed in our mission, believed in our vision, and believed in us to accomplish it. And so you can't say enough. The two investors initially, Ryan Sweeney and Vas Natarajan from Excel, and then Adam Ross from Goldcrest. And they were just phenomenal. They came alongside us. Couldn't have asked, and still to this day, we have a phenomenal relationship with our investors. We've since added another one. We did a Series B about 6 months later after our Series A. And that was David Glynn of Glynn Capital. So we felt very fortunate to have phenomenal investors that believe in where we're going. And we're back to where we started. So we're now at a break even and operating on a cash flow positive basis. And so,
cool.
Yeah, we're really excited.
So would you like to share some current numbers about VSCO? How big is your community now?
Yeah. So we're hyper-focused on our subscription. So we launched VSCO membership in Q1 of 2017. It's been growing on an average quarterly rate of over 136%. Q1 of 2018, we reached 1 million members, paid members, and excited to announce that in Q4 of this year, 2018, we reached over 2 million paying members.
Wow, that's awesome. So how do you manage this growth?
It's a great question. I think what we really, what's exciting about this growth and what's exciting about the model in particular is that it's not just a one-time, here's the money and give me what I paid for. Rather, it's here, our consumers are paying us, and then we need to continue to deliver value over a year for them to pay us again. And it's all about kind of those return and that renewal. And so for us, that alignment of the business model and the mission is so strong that we can really build into that and we can plan, and I love it. Our entire roadmap is around innovation and value for the consumer, and how do we make their membership experience even greater.
So you're trying to improve your product continuously. So
yes.
How do you get feedback from your users?
That's great, in a lot of ways. So one, just looking at raw data. Two, we run multiple kind of consumer insights studies where we go to our top markets and we listen. We're constantly doing surveys, NPS. If you or any of your listeners are ever in the Oakland area, daily we have people stopping by the office and trying out products, and we call them coffee chats, and members of our team take them for coffee and just kind of have that personal feedback. So we're always open to it, love it. It's why we exist, to build for our consumers. And so
which gives you the best value from this feedback methods?
Each one of those methods provides something unique.
Yes.
So I like to look at it as we look at it all combined. How do we look at the trends, and how do we understand those, we call them consumer truths, around their needs? And then how do we distill out of those truths a higher level vision of how we can meet those needs and build out over a couple year period of time. So it's really kind of exciting to step back, and that's a lot of what I spend my time doing, is stepping back and looking forward in a long-term scale.
Okay, cool. So stepping back, and what's about stepping forward? What are your next steps you're planning with VSCO?
So we made 2 recent hires. We hired a new CMO. Her name Tessa Aragones from Nike. She was a part of creating Nike ID, Nike Plus, and Nike Training. So we're really excited to move from, we have a very global community.
Yes.
80-ish% outside the US.
Cool.
Yet we've never really focused from a marketing perspective, kind of country specific or geo specific. So we're going to start to do a lot more on that front, both online and offline. So we have upcoming events. We just had launched VSCO Voices, which is a grant program for 5 individuals to help tell a story of underrepresented groups in the U.S. How do we continue to scale that out at a larger scale? We launched Open Studio, which is a studio space in our Oakland office, free for the community to use. How do we bring that out into other areas around the world? And how do we partner with great brands that are aligned with our mission to do the same? So that's a lot of what we're focused on. And then the second part, on the product side, we brought in a new head of product. Her name's Allison Swope. She's a part of the team that created Facebook Live, and then was leading growth in groups for Facebook Messenger. And so really excited to bring her on board and really help drive innovation for the creative. And the notion of our mission of helping everyone fall in love with their own creativity. How do we build value? How do we build greater tools? How do we build a community driven around inspiration and education? And how do we build this holistic experience, improve upon it, that everyone does fall in love with their creativity?
Okay, cool. You said yes. Now you're hiring people, and how do you find good people? I think it's challenging, right? Also in the Bay Area, it's very challenging to find good people. And how do you do your stuff?
We are hiring, so for anyone listening, go to visco.co/careers. I'll take a quick step back and kind of share my 4 focus points.
Yes.
And 2 of those really speak to this, and I actually think a third does. So my first is build the team. My number 1 focus is recruiting. And so I believe that is my job as CEO, to find the right people to bring into VSCO to help build the future. My second is around growing the team, the career development, how well we work together, people understanding the mission and their role towards accomplishing it. My third focus is on setting the vision. I think it's really important for people. They want to know what we're trying to accomplish. Is it for a greater purpose, greater good? Does it make the world a better place? And I know that sounds cliche, but we're looking for people that are mission driven. That is what we have to offer. And then my last is this. I need to tell the story, amplify VSCO. The more I share the vision of the future, the goal with that is that it helps continue to drive our employer brand. I want VSCO to move from, kind of the best kept secret as a place to work to known as the best place to work. And so my job is to really get out there and share more about what it's like to work there, what we're building towards, and with that, bring people in.
Okay, wow, sounds very nice. So, do you have any advice for young entrepreneurs who are going to start their own startup?
Yeah. Do it right.
Do it right. Okay, so
Yeah.
how do I do it right?
How do you do it right? I'm a strong believer in something. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And there might be quick fixes or quick ways, and these tend to be trends. So you see the entrepreneurs, whatever the trend of the day is, I'm going to start a company because it's the trendy thing to do right now, or it's the trendy topic to build a company on. Trends go away.
Yes.
And when things get difficult, if it's not something you believe in strongly, you're not going to be successful.
Okay.
So you have to find something that's worth doing, and you have to do it right. Because there's a point when, if successful, it needs to be grounded on a set of principles that you strongly believe in. Like, I get up each day for the mission and vision of VSCO, and there's tough days.
Yes.
And I still have to believe in that mission and vision. And it's like, absolutely, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to bring people along and we're going to find a way through this. And when things are great, like they are right now, it's that even amplifying and scaling, and that notion of when you do things right, you can move with confidence. And I think the uncertainty of, is this right? Am I adding value to the world? Is this a good business? That really will kill your opportunity and your endeavor that you're on. And so when you're doing it right, and things are working, you can move with confidence and scale.
Okay, wow, cool. Really motivates, I think, to hear this. So thank you very much for this. So I have one final question for you. What is your favorite filter on the VSCO?
So KE1, which is from an Ektar 100, is probably my go-to, and so that's a part of our VSCO membership. I'm also, there's a few others that I use KE1 probably 95% of the time, and then the rest A6, G2, sometimes C3, toned down just a little bit. So those are my go-tos.
Cool, thank you for this quick tips. And thank you for being here. It was a pleasure for me to meet you, and I think for Felix too.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking time to speak to us.
Yeah. And if anyone's ever in Oakland, look me up and reach out, and love to grab coffee.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this invitation, and have a nice. How long will you stay in Lisbon now?
Till Saturday.
Till Saturday. So we have still a bit time to look around the city. Have you ever been here before?
I was 18 years ago.
Okay.
So it's a little while ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think the city changed a bit in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed, the weather, the people, and the food have all stayed the same, and I think those are some of the great characteristics. And there's a quality of life here that you can, as you walk around, you notice people are really enjoying life. So I love being here.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
And it was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.